This is the largest automatic melon farm I have ever made while playing Minecraft. It may look derpy from this side with the little face I used, but if I go around to the opposite side, I'll show you exactly how this thing works. As you can see here, there's layers and layers and layers of these automatic observers and piston sensing melon destroying machines. I mean, these are absolutely fantastic and they pump out a ridiculous amount of melon. So I'm going to show you how I did this. First thing I did was I dug out a roughly 19 by 19 cube. And the reason I did a 19 by 19 cube is after, placing a couple water buckets, I wanted it somewhere to meet in the middle. So as you can see here, after digging out this 19 by 19, we'll go to one side, place a bucket of water, and it stops roughly there. And we're going to fill in water completely on one side. Now, if this doesn't make sense or I seem like I'm talking like a crazy person, trust me, in about a couple seconds you will understand why we're doing this size of a farm. It has nothing to do with the machines or anything. It's solely for collection purposes. So as you can see here, it stops at 8 blocks, which is one in the middle. I'm going to grab 2 more water buckets, and when we place them, we should have 1 block gap in the middle here for collecting. So they perfectly line up, so there's a 1 block gap in between. And similar to how we did with the other side, all I'm doing here is using water buckets to completely fill in the opposite side of this. So you're going to have almost 2 layers of water sort of cascading toward each other like this, with a strip of land or earth in between. And then once you get that, we're going to take this and mine it 1 block down. That way all of our collections get pulled into one spot, and then we can simply use a water bucket to pull it all together at the same time. So again, this is about as simple as you can get with a collection system. If you want to use hoppers instead, by all means, it's just going to be a ridiculous amount of hoppers for this, and it's going to be a lot of items for those hoppers to try and handle all at once. So similar to like how you would do a cactus farm with like fences, this would be the collection system you'd want to use, just for future reference in case you ever decide you want to be like, hey, you know what, I'm going to make another huge collection system because I can. You could also dig this farm down instead of building it up. That's also a good idea. This was just kind of me experimenting to see what I was capable of, even because it's kind of hard to tell these days. But so this is the largest collection system I've ever made for something like this. But once you have that, as you can see here, all of our water is now pulling items to one particular block. So now all we have to do is put a hopper down there. Before I do that, I think it's important that I show you how to make this farm. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 blocks out, 1 block over, place a block of dirt, take any solid blocks, we're using these planks, and we're going to build 2 wide all the way across. Now if this doesn't make sense, trust me, it will in a second. So now we have this 2 wide platform, and on the 3rd block you're going to place grass. So this is going to be where we're going to plant our melons, and then the machine to automatically mine them is going to be on the 2 wide blocks behind us. So again, 2 blocks of a solid block, 1 block of grass. Have something that looks like this, where it's like kind of overhanging 1 block of the water. And then now I'll show you how to make this farm. So it's going to be a piston, space, piston, space, piston, space. Each one of these pistons is going to be facing towards your dirt blocks or grass blocks, with 1 block gap in between them. Again, making sure there is a 1 block gap in between each one of these pistons in order so we can have the farm working properly. And then in the block gap where the pistons aren't, you're going to plant a pumpkin and or melon seed. I'm planting a melon seed because that's what I wanted to do. So again, in between each one of these pistons on the grass block, you're going to plant a melon seed or a pumpkin seed. You have something that looks like this. And then you're going to grab your observers. You want to make sure the observer is facing in the correct direction. So this would be incorrect. You can actually use the seed, the little hit bar of the seed. It's kind of difficult, but you can technically use that little hit bar to place the observer like so. That way the face of the observer is facing towards the seed, and the little red eye is facing in the opposite direction. So now your pattern should be piston, observer, placing an observer in each block gap between these pistons, and this is what's going to power the piston, and then the piston is going to break the melon. Now that we have something like this, again, this should all line up, making sure your seeds are in front of the observers and not in front of the pistons, because the pistons will break the stem. Now, grab a solid block and place one solid block behind each and every one of the observers, like so, and then a redstone dust behind each and every one of the pistons. So again, behind each observer, you should have a solid block, and behind each piston, you should have a redstone dust. Just one, not a big deal. And then this would technically be a completed farm. So this would be one section of the farm completely done. It's fully automatic, and it will start to harvest. So now we're going to make another one in this space here. So we're going to go 2 blocks over and place our dirt blocks, and then same style, we're going to place our solid blocks behind it. So as you can see here, I'm just going all the way across with one layer of dirt blocks, similar to how we did with the other one. And then on this side now, I'll place, 2 more blocks. But if I want to save space, I could even place maybe a third block and have it, almost use the same amount of space. And if that doesn't make sense, I'll show you what I'm talking about. But for now, we're just going to do 2 here. So it's 2. And then so we have a 2 block gap. And then it's just simple as repeating what we did on that side onto this side. But like I said, if you want to go crazy, you can add another solid block and then a line of dirt, like so. So instead of using an extra row of blocks, we're going to save at least 1 block of space, or 2 blocks of space technically, by making this one double-sided. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll show you how to make a double-sided version of the one I just showed you earlier. This is going to be double-sided and even more efficient. So again, we've done this before. We're going to place our pistons 1 block apart, facing towards the dirt blocks, like so. Again, block, observer, making sure it's every other block. And you might want to have it match up to the other side. That way all the pistons are like kind of lining up. Not a big deal if it's not, but that's just, my OCD kicking in. And then same on this side. We'll do this and make sure these are definitely, if you're using this double-sided one, the backs of them have to be lined up. Otherwise, this will not work. But if it's a single, it doesn't matter. So just how like we did with the other one, we just added pistons and observers and the seeds on both sides, making sure they line up in the middle. And then it's as simple as adding a block behind these observers. Now we're saving, a bunch of redstone and a bunch of blocks, because these will technically, if one senses one on the opposite side, it will trigger the other one to go off, and vice versa. And then now it's even more efficient, because now the delay time, as you can see here, you can tell it's working, because every time the observer senses that a seed grows or the melon grows, it'll automatically fire the piston. And then once the melon actually grows, it'll destroy that melon. But the best way to tell if it's working, if it's just constantly firing. So again, all we're doing here is we're going to repeat this process from the opposite side. So now we'll have 3 total farms on every layer. So again, I repeated what we did. I moved it over a couple. There's a 2 block gap. And now we're going to place pistons again. So in total, we have 1 on the end, 2 in the middle, and then 1 on this end. And again, this process is very simple. As you can see here, I'm simply repeating the exact same, the model with piston, observer, all make sure they're facing in the correct direction. That is crucial to this project. And after you do that, you can simply just almost copy and paste what you're doing. I finished this one over here. This one's done. So now we have 1, 2, 3. We have 4 total automatic melon farms on just this one layer. So, and each melon farm has up to 9 or 12 machines in it. But now that we have the machines cranking, we're going to want to make our collection system. So I'm going to take advantage of this little lull in the time while we wait for some of our melons to grow. And I'm going to place a double chest and hoppers facing into it, like so, at the end of the water. That way, at the end of the water stream, it gets collected by the hoppers and then picked up into the chest. So now any item we throw in there, any item that gets collected, will just be automatically sorted into our chest. So it's a super sorting system, nothing crazy. If you want to speed this up before you go to the next layer, you can always use bone meal to grow them. As you can see, every time I grow it with bone meal, it fires the pistons because the observer is detecting a change in the crop in front of it. So it's pretty simple. We'll just go around and bone meal all of these. That way they're all big, healthy plants. And then once they're bone mealed to their max height, every once in a while they'll automatically grow melons, and then you won't have to worry about it anymore. And then it'll just automatically, oh, there goes one right now. We've officially collected our first melon. And then we can tell the collection system is working. So again, just bone meal them if you want to save some time. And once you're ready, you can just sit back and relax. You can do one layer if you're comfortable with it. You can do 2 layers. You can do up to 9. You can do even higher if you want to. If you dig this in the ground, you can go even lower. But this is the first layer for the project, and this is exactly what it should look like. So now that we have this, I think the next step before we go any higher is to check. We're already at 6 melon slices in the whopping 2 seconds it took me to bone meal, all of these. But now that they're fully grown, you can stack these on top of each other. But before I do that, I want to know how high I can stack these to make it look nice. So we're going to need some black dye. I walked over to the nearest squid population and just culled a few from my memory and gathered their ink sacs. After gathering a couple ink sacs, I can just throw them in my crafting, make some black ink, head over to my little sheep pen, stable, whatever you want to call it, and dye some sheep black. And we're going to use this because I want to use black wool to frame out, the farm. And if you've seen the start of the video, you know exactly why. But if you haven't seen the start of the video, and I don't know why you wouldn't have, I won't spoil it. But once we got all of our black wool, we're simply just going to frame it out, counting exactly how many blocks that we have going across, and then matching that going up. So that way we have a perfect square, and it doesn't look off. And once we have that perfect square, or a little frame in place, we know exactly how high I can build without making this build seem off or lopsided or, lumpy, whatever you want to call it. And if it's square, it's also a lot easier to line up. And now that's a pretty tall project. Definitely going to have a bunch of layers. So let's get started. So after finishing all the framing, making this, massive cube, now we can get to the fun part of starting to raise this project up a couple layers. So now all I'm doing is you're going to go up, and 1 block right above the other one, you're going to repeat this exact same step. So again, grass blocks, one directly above the melon. It's not going to hurt the growth or anything. It'll still, collect it. Place your solid blocks, 2 across, and repeat this all the way across. So again, if you don't remember how I made these farms, you can either skip to the video, or maybe I'll show you quickly how I did this one at the end. So all I'm doing here is I built out the farm. I'm going to grab our pistons and observers, travel these all the way across, and then repeat this, for the whole layer. So as you can see here, I literally copied. It took me like an hour to put everything together, but I literally copied exactly what I did on the layer below, 1 layer up. So this would be our second completed layer. So now we have 4 farms on the bottom, 4 farms on the top. And let's look at our chest. We've already collected several stacks of melons in the time it took me to do that. So just the 1 layer was already pumping out several stacks of melons, and we've just added a second layer, which isn't even functioning yet because the melons haven't grown. After adding another couple of layers, I maybe got a little carried away. You definitely don't need this. I don't see myself ever needing this much melon. But as you can see, it's just harvesting, and 4 of the layers aren't even grown yet, and it's still pumping out a ridiculous amount. So far, we only have 2 of these layers grown. But again, just stacking the exact same farm, 1 block on top of each other, going up. And let's go check our chest. We have a total, oh my goodness, we have a lot of melons. So we have more melon than we could ever want, and that's just 2 of the farms working, and we have another 4 on top of it. So this is absolutely insane. But if you want to go higher than that, because I have a total of 6, I believe. If you want to go higher than that, it's up to you. But I think what I want to do right now is just kind of put a little smiley face on this thing. I'm going to grab a couple different green dyes, add some, green stripes for a melon. I don't really know. I'm not great at melon making, I guess. I don't know. But we had this little cute little face, and I think it turned out nice. Obviously, it's a melon. If you say it's not a melon, it's a melon. Yeah. So if you enjoyed this video, please let me know. This farm is super efficient. We've done up to 7 layers. You can go even higher. As you can see, I didn't even reach the top. I just ran out of, redstone, which is almost impossible in Minecraft sometimes. But I did. I've run completely out of redstone, and I don't think I'm going to need any more melons. And this is how much we've collected in the time it took me to make it. Almost a half chest full of stacks of melon. Absolutely fantastic.